You know, I've thought about making this video on and off multiple times for years. But every time I pick up my phone and go to record myself, I'm like, nah. But right now it's like 5:30 in the morning and I'm a little bit drunk. A slight bit drunk. So I'm like, what the hell? I might as well make the video. And I mean, I've probably talked about this before in other videos before, maybe. Like on my YouTube channel, my welcome video that pops up when you click on my channel or whatever. It's that video I made where I talk about how I grew up with no education. I never went to school. But like that video is fucking, I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's like 2.5 hours long. And I'm just like, 2.5 hours long. So I probably talked about this in that video because that video is fucking long. But I don't know. I'm not going to go back and watch that video because it's fucking 2.5 hours long. I'm not going to sit there and watch a 2.5 hour long video of myself whining about my childhood. Sounds like that'd be pretty boring. But man, I've thought about, I should probably remake that video into like a 15 to 20 minute long version. Because 2.5 hours is too fucking long. And sometimes I think, man, how the hell did I let myself make a 2.5 hour long video? Like, what did I talk about in there? Like, obviously, I'm sure I talked about my mom didn't put me in school and, like, how I grew up and everything. But, man, how the hell did I stretch that out into 2.5 hours? That's ridiculous. That's something I've never been good at, is like getting to the point and kind of just, getting to the point. I kind of just ramble on and on and on. And I don't know how to stay on track or whatever. So shit ends up being a lot longer than it should be. But anyways, yeah, I've thought about, I should remake that video, make a shorter version of that. Yeah. But for this video, I wanted to talk about one specific thing that happened one night that still really fucking bothers me to this day. So, in my early days on the internet, I was using a flip phone. I think it was a Motorola Razr. I don't know the exact model, but it was like, one of the ones that came out in the mid to late 2000s or whatever. But it was a flip phone and it had access to the internet. And so I'd be getting on there and fucking using Mocospace and chatting with people. And I was having the time of my life. It was a great time. I was having a good time. I was chatting with a lot of people. I was chatting with a few different girls, and was chatting in the forums and in the chat rooms, and they had like I was spending time in the Near Me chat room, which if you go to your Near Me chat room, it like connects you with in a chat room with people in your own city. So I was in the chat room with people around Phoenix and surrounding areas. So, and then I came across this girl. I don't know if I sent her a private message first or if she sent me a private message first, but she had a username that was like a reference to a South Park character, and I thought that was hilarious. And me and her started chatting, and one of us sent the other a friend request, and we started messaging each other, and then eventually it turned into exchanging phone numbers, and we became friends. Like, we'd be texting a lot, and we ended up talking on the phone a lot. We'd have conversations sometimes that would go on for a few hours, I think. So it was cool. And she was a pretty girl. She was a pretty Mexican girl. She was like really into all that like emo and scene shit that was really popular in the mid to late 2000s. So she was into all of that, and she's really pretty. And me and her were the same age. We were both 19 years old. And yeah, so we'd be having these conversations and shit. And it got to the point to where she'd be asking to, meet me. She wanted to meet me. And I would make excuses because, I was shy. But at the same time, it's like, I didn't have a social life. I didn't go out and really spend time with too many people. And I wasn't really confident around girls. And my mom didn't really know that I was like talking to people on the internet. She got me a flip phone, but I don't think she understood that it had like internet access, and she just had no idea that I was talking to people and I was talking to girls. So I wasn't sure if I should bring up to her, oh hey, I'm talking to people on the internet or whatever. It wasn't really something that crossed my mind that I should go up to her and be like, oh, hey, is this okay that I'm talking to people online? But yeah, me and this girl would be talking a lot. She started asking if we could hang out. And I found out that me and her actually lived pretty close to each other. She only lived like 2 or 3 miles away from me. But I would make excuses. I would make excuses for why we couldn't hang out. Because I was too shy. And at the same time, I was like, wasn't sure if my mom would be okay with me meeting a girl and hanging out. So, but this girl was awesome, man. Like, it was just, I felt so good talking to her. And because, I didn't really spend much time talking to girls. Like, I've had a few friends here and there over the years, and it would usually be like kids, like whoever lived next door at the time. And it was usually like a boy or 2 boys who lived next door. I didn't really spend much time around girls. Like, the only females I was really around were like my family members. I didn't get to spend much time around like just girls that I liked or whatever, because I didn't get to go outside and have a social life. I didn't get to go to school or anything. So the kids I mostly spent time around were just like boys whoever lived next door at the time. I'd have a few friends here and there like that. But yeah, I just wasn't confident around girls. Talking to them or seeing them face to face. Yeah. But this girl, me and her, we were really, I was really enjoying my time chatting with her. But, sometimes she would be asking, like, if we could hang out. And I remember, like, one time she was like, oh, come on, let me come hang out with you. I'll give you a blowjob. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know if she was joking or not. She probably was joking, but I was like, holy shit, I can't believe she said that. I was like, wow. I was excited. But at the same time, I was like, fuck, I can't meet her. I was just pussing out. But anyway, there came a point one night, I think this was probably after like maybe like 5 or 6 months of us knowing each other. There came a point one night where, she was messaging me, And she was telling me, I think she was like telling me that she was at a party, but she was like not having fun at the party. And, you know, she was like, come on, let me come hang out with you. Let me come see you, you know, even just for a few minutes. I just want to see you face to face and talk to you for a bit. So I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, I don't know. And but this was like at like 10 or 11 p.m. at night. And I went and checked. I was like walking around my house, and I went and checked, and my mom, she was asleep. You know, she would usually have her bedroom door open. She had a big bedroom, so she had a couch in her room. She was like sleeping on her couch. And so I was like, cool, she's asleep. And my sister and my sister's kid were living there at the time too. So, and they were asleep. And I realized, oh shit, everyone's asleep. So, maybe we could meet. And she was like, yeah, come on, let me come over. And I was like, I finally just said, yeah, okay. Just come over and, you know, park outside, and I'll come outside and we'll talk outside. So she drove over there, and she texted me when she got there. She parked in front of my neighbor's house, and I was like, holy shit, this is cool. I was excited, and I was nervous as hell, but I was excited too. But at the time, we had this dog. She was a Shiba Inu, and she was like really playful, like pup. I think she was only about a year old or whatever. And I realized that I couldn't go outside through the front door or through the kitchen door because my mom would probably hear me opening one of those doors to go outside. So I decided I was going to go out through the back door and go through the side gate. So, you know, the dog wanted to go outside, so I let the dog outside in the backyard while I went out the back door, and I went through the side gate, and I went up to my friend and greeted her, and it was amazing. It was like the best way to describe it, I guess, is like I finally felt like a normal person for once, because, you know, I went up to this girl, and I think we hugged or shook hands or whatever. I think we hugged, I don't know, but it was like we were just face to face, and we were talking. I was like, we started talking and joking around, and that was it. We were just standing there in front of my neighbor's house talking and joking around, and it was amazing because it was like, for me, it was like, I guess you could say, the first time I felt like a normal person. You know, I'm getting to stand here talking to this pretty girl that I like, who I've been getting to know over the last few months. And, you know, it's not a normal thing for me to be able to stand there and talk to a girl face to face, a pretty girl too. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. I felt so good. And me and her, we stood there for probably like 10, 15 minutes just talking. But while this was happening, the damn dog, the Shiba Inu that was in the backyard, you know, she ended up going to the back door and like scratching at it, like being loud. And she ended up waking up my sister, either by scratching at the door and being loud, or she was able to get the door open and wake up my sister and go up to my sister and wake her up that way. But somehow the dog woke my sister up. And I guess my sister was like all confused and everything, and she wasn't sure why the dog was outside or who let the dog out, and she wasn't sure where I was. So she went and woke my mom up, and my mom, I guess, walked around and couldn't find me anywhere. So me and this girl, we're standing outside, just talking to each other, just having a good time. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just standing there talking. And I'm just having the time of my life talking to her. And then suddenly, the kitchen lights turn on in my house. And I look over, and then the blinds just open all the way. And my mom is just standing there at the dining room window, staring at me and my friend. And then I looked at her and said, well, I gotta go in now. And she was like, okay. And I was like, I'll talk to you later. And she, we said bye, and she left. And I went inside my house, and, I didn't say anything to my mom. I just went inside, and I just walked straight to my room because I knew she was going to be pissed. I walked straight to my room, and I think I sat down on my bed. And then my mom just comes in there and just fucking goes crazy. Just yelling and screaming at me like she was fucking pissed. And she was loud. And she was just saying all kinds of shit. I don't know exactly I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was like yelling at me and cussing at me. She basically just calling me a stupid, dumb motherfucker. And she was like, how dare you fucking, she's just saying all kinds of horrible shit to me and calling me a dumb motherfucker, basically for talking to strangers. And she was pretty much just telling me, like, you don't know this person or whatever, you don't know, if they're safe or not. You don't know if they have bad intentions or not. My cats are acting like they're gonna fight each other. But anyway, like, she was just fucking yelling at me and calling me a dumb motherfucker for talking to a stranger. So she was yelling at her 19-year-old son for talking to a stranger. And after she was done yelling at me, I started crying. I think I did start crying after that. I think I cried a lot. And I just felt like shit. I felt like complete shit. She completely destroyed my night. She took what was a good night, a really good night for me, and completely destroyed it. And I did not even attempt to see my friend again after that for probably at least 3 years. Like, me and her would still talk on the phone sometimes and text each other, but I didn't even attempt to see her again for, like, I think it was at least 3 years after that. And eventually my mom kind of came around a little bit, and she would even tell me a few years later. She would ask me, like, are you still talking to, like, that girl? And I would tell her, well, yeah. And she would tell me, like, oh, you should invite her over. And then one night I did invite her over, and she came over one night. But her and my mom did not meet. Me and the girl were just, like, in a part of the house that my mom wasn't in, and we were hanging out in there for a bit. But it was kind of awkward at that point, because I think at that point me and her weren't really talking as much. And then after that, nothing much really happened after that. I think it was again like a few years before me and her saw each other again. But my mom did kind of eventually come around to me having friends or whatever. But and kind of telling me, oh, you should go out and do this and that. But just the fact that, you know, again, it's like, I want whoever might watch this video, whether it's like one person or two people or whatever, I want you to think about how your life was when you were a teenager. You know, a lot of teenagers, they obviously, they go to school, and a lot of people had boyfriends and girlfriends when they were in school, when they were teenagers, and a lot of teenagers, a lot of people started having sex when they were teenagers. But, you know, I didn't get to do any of that. I didn't get to have the school life or the friendships, the regular friendships or the relationships. I didn't get to have the girlfriends or any of that shit. So, you know, I just want people to kind of understand how fucking weird my upbringing was. It wasn't the worst upbringing ever. I wasn't dealing with severe abuse or anything like that. There's a lot of people who have dealt with a lot worse shit than I have, but I still dealt with like neglect and kind of being closed off from the world in a way. Just not being able to really get out and have a life and form friendships and have relationships with anyone. And just the fact that I was 19 years old and I was getting yelled at for talking to a stranger. Like, I want people to realize how fucking weird and how fucking wrong that was. And that's something that I still struggle with to this day. Like, I think about that night and it bothers the hell out of me. And there's a lot of shit that bothers me about my mom and about my upbringing. And yeah, I really hate how that went down. And to this day, I still struggle. I still struggle with a lot of shit. A lot of shit. You know, I still have a hard time making friends or forming meaningful connections with people. I've made a few good friends over the years, like long distance friends through the internet, and I've made a few good friends just by working with people, meeting people at work and getting to know them. But it's like, overall, for the most part, people don't like me. Most people do not like me. And, but it's like, at this point in life, you know, I am the way I am, and it's just the way it is. I don't think things are going to change. But, yeah, this video is getting kind of long. We're nearly at 25 minutes, but, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I still think about it. It still hurts because that night, it was so good for like a good 10 or 15 minutes, and then my mom completely destroyed it after those 15 minutes. My mom completely destroyed it. And I was like, fuck, man. And that girl, like, me and her, we stayed friends. Like, we didn't talk to each other as much, but we still kept in contact. And during that time, during that first year of our friendship, like, I really liked her. But then, you know, after that happened and we stopped talking to each other as much, you know, she kind of, you know, she was like seeing a guy or a few different guys, and then she had a kid, and And then she dated a woman, and she kind of gave up on guys, and she was kind of just sticking to women. And years down the line, me and her hung out a few more times, and at that point, I wasn't really looking at her the same way that I used to. Like, I used to want to try to date her, but after years and everything that happened, I wasn't really looking at her that way anymore, because she was like more into women at this point, and me and her were just friends. Like, literally, we came to a point to where we were just friends. And I don't know if I ever had a chance with her in that first year. Like, if I would have been more confident, I don't know if I would have had a chance with her. I think I might have, but I don't know. But yeah, years later, when me and her would, hang out a few times, yeah, it was cool. And eventually, years after that, me and her would meet up a few times, and we ended up going to some music shows together. We went to go see Brother Ali. We went to go see Greaves, and we went to go see Atmosphere together. So we've went to a few shows together, and we had a good time. She's cool to be around. Me and her are we're really different people, but we still have love for each other because we are friends. We don't talk to each other as much as we used to, but we still, to this day, have contact with each other, and we'll message each other once in a while, oh, happy whatever holiday or happy birthday or whatever. We haven't really went to a show together, to one of those music shows together, in probably 3 years at this point, but I'm thankful that we did go to some shows together. And, she's a cool person, I love her because I love my friends. But, yeah, I just wish my mom wouldn't have been so difficult about that and about other things. It sucks. It sucks that I couldn't go to school. I couldn't have a normal upbringing. How dare life be unfair to me? A lot of people think that way, but it's it really is. Some of us, you get lost in those negative thoughts because your life ends up sucking so much, and you just can't stop going back to those negative thoughts and being mad at the people who fuck you over. And I feel like my mom really did fuck me over in a lot of ways. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. I don't know what else to say. I just wish that my mom didn't act like such a psychopath that night. I think about if she didn't wake up and get all mad at me and everything, what would have happened, Well, what would have likely happened was me and that girl probably would have just kept talking for another fucking half hour or whatever, and then be like, all right, I'll see you later, and then I would have went back inside and enjoyed the rest of my night, and that would have been great, but I couldn't have that. A fucking 19-year-old guy got yelled at by his mom for talking to a stranger, for talking to a girl. I'm never going to be okay with that. But anyway, that's just something I wanted to get off my chest. This probably could have been a 5 or 10 minute long video, but of course I had to stretch it out into a half hour because That's what I do for some reason. And, you know, I feel like, you know, I kind of miss doing this. I kind of miss making videos just talking about whatever. All right, well, I'm going to end this video now.